Hi, my name is Joe Berto. I'm one of the partners here at Track 3 Microbrewery and Coffee House.
Hi, I'm Mike Pauslin. I'm one of the partners with Track 3 Microbrewery and Coffee House here in Dressertown Plaza, Dresser, Pennsylvania.
I've always had the dream of opening up a shared microbrewery and coffee house. I started home brewing about 15 years ago and actually home roasting coffee at the same time. So a good friend of mine out in San Diego, his name is Dan Scheibe, he and I got into the home brewing game together, and he now is a commercial coffee roaster. He brought the coffee side into what he's doing right now, and I've always wanted to have this dream of shared coffee and beer together.
A couple years ago, we had this dream together of making beer in more volume and getting into business. And some of my background, I've got a business background. Joe's got a very scientific background and has a home brewing background. Seemed to work.
I was running a science education company, and I enjoyed it, but I wanted something more social to do. As my science education company kind of got up and running on its own, I was able to step away and do something that I really had a passion to do. It was this, open up this microbrewery and coffee house.
Here we go! Yeah.
The three of us are huge music fans, love Pink Floyd. One of the songs that we like is Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. We said if we ever get into business together, we're going to name our first beer Set the Controls. Set the Controls is the third track on the Saucerful of Secrets album by Pink Floyd.
And it turned out that a lot of the songs that we really enjoyed were track threes from some particular album. Mike put this idea forth, we thought about it a little bit and took a look at some of the songs that fit the bill, came up with a list of names of songs that would really work well, and ran with the idea.
Since we've opened, we've had people participating in naming, and they've had a lot of fun with it too. We've integrated the concept of track three into multiple areas of the business. When you walk through the door and coming into our business, we've got pictures of different artists, bands. For our taster trays, we went to a customized taster tray that's made out of a vinyl record and has 5 locations for sampling. People love, getting their record, and as you watch people, they're looking at, I wonder what record I'm going to get this time.
We built up our knowledge on the brewhouse system first with a barrel and a half system we purchased about a year and a half ago. It worked really well because it was small enough actually to fit into our pilot brewery, which turned out to be our garage. And we quickly realized that we could produce excellent beer on that system. The low chance of contamination you have of being able to boil right in what's going to be the fermenter. Lack of cleaning chemicals that are necessary to be able to clean that out from batch to batch, and the chance of chemical contamination between the two. Not having to worry about that really reduced a lot of the risk in producing excellent beer. So we made, I think, 5 or 6 different beers in that pilot system within the first 2 months, and all of them came out really well. So that led Mike and I to believe that, this is something we can certainly do on a larger scale system. Started to look into it a little bit more seriously, talked to Nathan about the 7-barrel system and kind of what was available to be able to scale up if we did go into a full-size brew pub. Brewed with Scott Ketty out at Three Dogs to see his system and how he was doing it in a limited amount of space as well in a brew pub setting. And that really kind of solidified it for us that we could do something similar in a tight space. So when we're looking for a site for the brew pub, we wanted to find something local. I live in the local community here in Upper Dublin, and it was really important to us to help build that local community. So it's not about just producing good beer and good coffee, it's about having a place where the community can gather, enjoy themselves with their friends, their family. So our location, we are in a retail plaza. We have about 2,500 square feet, so it's a long rectangular box. We've got our customer space up front, which is about 1,400 square feet, and then our brewing space in the rear. So this used to be a diner, right? And this was their kitchen space in the rear that we've converted over to the brew pub. We don't do any cooking here currently, but we have a lot of the services needed that we needed for the brewery, the water, the HVAC, the electrical service. We managed to fit 5 7-barrel fermenters back in the back end of the brew pub, and there's 2 walk-in coolers behind me that we use to keg all of our beer, and we have the shanks that run right through the wall of the cold room that go right back bar. So we can make the beer in the back of the house, keg it, put it in the coolers, and then serve it right in the front of the bar.
Here we go! Yeah!
So our brew day starts usually the night before, and even several days before, to make sure that the vessel's been cleaned out properly. So my assistant brewer, Nick, is responsible and a great help to the kegging of the beer, the cleaning of the kegs, the cleaning of the vessels to prep us for the next brew day. So we will fill the vessel with water the night before. We insert our mash tun, we bring it up to strike temp. So everything is ready basically for the next morning. So we try to do that the night before. So when we're here first thing in the morning, it's say 6 or 6:30 in the morning, we're ready to mash in basically at that time. So we'll have our grains ready to go and wait out for that morning. Nick will usually be the one to start the mash-in process. Shortly after that point, I'll come in, help him out, finish the mash-in, make sure everything is proper with the way that we've hit our temperature. The 5-6 batches we've done so far, we've hit our mash-in temp. Mash for an hour, we check for our conversion, and then record our numbers, and then start to sparge. So we'll bring our mash tun a little bit out at a time until we can see the top of that grain bed and start to sparge using the jacket of the 7-barrel system. So we found that mash out temperature of about 168 degrees, if you've got a full jacket worth of water, using that jacket water works out quite well for us to be able to sparge. So we do our continuous sparging with that as we're lifting the mash tun out of the vessel. After that, we get our mash tun out of there and start the boil right in the vessel itself. So the nice thing about our setup here is we've got a couple wide doors right next to the brewing vessel. So as we tip the mash tun over and empty it out into our wheelbarrow, we can just wheel it right out the back door. So it fits exactly right next to the brewing space where we're going to remove those grains. And then we take them out from compost, usually the separate day, the second day. We've got a facility just on the road that will take our grains. Continue the boil right inside of that vessel. And we've made some modifications to our system towards the end of the process. So we have a large hop canister that we use for hop recirculation. So if we're doing some of our hoppy IPAs, for instance, the New England IPAs, we can load up to, dozens of pounds basically inside of this hop canister if necessary. And we'll put it inside of the vessel with a pulley and a hoist. So we can drop that down into the vessel and we put it right near one of the ports and we recirculate from the inside to the outside of the vessel using our pump and our hose and kind of move the wort through the area where this hop canister is located at. So we're agitating the hops that are inside of there and pulling out the maximal amount of oil and flavor as we can. And we'll let that run for some period of time after the boil. So we usually do that after the boil is cooling down about 170 degrees to kind of maximize the hop oil extraction without pulling out any extra bitterness at that point. With our dry hopping process, we actually use the same 1.5-barrel vessel we use for our pilot scale system. So we have the hop canister inserted right inside of it. We load that up with hops, we purge it with CO2, and then we recirculate the beer from our large vessel through that 1.5-barrel system that contains the hop canister to extract the maximal amount of hop oil and hop flavor out of that. After the dry hop, we'll pump all of that, the beer that's in there, back into the main vessel. And then we just clean it out. It's pretty easy. We can pull the lid right off the 1.5-barrel system. We have a hook on that hop canister that's in there, and we can simply remove it, scoop out the hops that's in there, and then remove that right from the 1.5-barrel system, take it right outside, clean it out, and we're good to go. All the beer is back now into the main 7-barrel system. After we ferment the beer, we're not able to run bright tanks or serving tanks here directly because of our space limitations, but what we can do because of the cold rooms that were on site here is keg all the beer and serve directly from there. So after fermentation is complete and the beer's rested and we're ready to keg, we keg it and we move it directly to our cold room. So we've got space in there for pretty much all of our beer. One of the little dances that we have to do out here is if we do 5 7-barrel batches, we have a little bit more beer than we have keg space. So again, one of the nice benefits about this system is with the jacket and the Linder chillers that we use is that we can continue to cool the beer down within the fermenter for an extended period of time if we don't have the opportunity to move it into the cold room. We are carbonating our beer using essentially what's a carbonation panel. So we don't carbonate directly in the fermenters. When we keg the beer, we'll let it sit in our 30-degree cold room for a day or two to get as cold as possible. And then we have a recirculation carbonation panel. So once the kegs are cold, we bring them out, we hook them up to this carbonation panel. It's essentially a pump that will recirculate the beer from the keg through this carbonation panel, inject carbonation through a carbonation stone, similar to what you would have if you did it right inside of a bright tank or fermenter, but it does it in line in this pump. So it's circulating it over and over as the beer is moving out of the kegs and moving back in. We just use a normal Sankey connector. So it's coming out one connector through the carbonation panel, back into the other one in the keg, and it circulates. And actually within about 6 minutes, with 10 liters of CO2 pressure, you can carbonate the keg fully. One of the lessons we've learned is to make sure you understand what size build out you're going to be able to use in your space. We had planned on the equipment and the layout we were going to purchase before we had finalized all the details with the township. They kind of came back and threw us a little bit of a curveball on what we had to change up in here. So we lost about 200 square feet that we thought initially we'd be able to use for more brewing space back here and fermenting space. And it was still able to work because of the mobile nature of the brew house systems and the way we can move them around wherever necessary. With the brewing process itself, I think one of the other important things is dialing in the system. So we're using grains from a third-party supplier, from a commercial supplier, and the grain size, one of the unique things about the mash tune in the brew house system, it works very well for mashing and sparging, but it takes a little bit to dial in, I would say, the grain size that you're using compared to what some of the other larger commercial brewers may use. For our first batch, we didn't specify the crush that we needed for the grain, and the medium crush that they sent us was a little bit too fine. So we're having some problems with slow mashes and stuck mashes. Once we kind of explained to them the system we're working on and they sent them some samples we could test out, everything was fine. We just had to make sure that they understood kind of our needs specifically with this system, and we were able to move forward with that and start producing excellent beer again. Incorporating both a coffee house and a microbrewery, I think that's something that's relatively unique still to the area. Because we knew that the local community was behind us. It's something that's not present in this area. There isn't really any good craft coffee. And even within maybe a 15-minute radius, there are no other craft breweries. So the concept, I think, has been solid. We've got a lot of good feedback about that. We're paying rent on the facility throughout the day, so it only makes sense to be able to offer service during the morning and service during the evening if it's products that fit well together. And we think that there are a lot of similarities between the craft coffee and the craft beer, and those two products actually do work really well together. So we have some of our drinks that have both coffee and beer in them as evidence of that, and those are usually some of our more popular drinks that we're serving to our patrons. So we're excited about the concept, and we think it's only going to improve going forward. The important things we've really learned is that we would not be able to produce this much excellent beer in a small space if it wasn't for the brew house system and the unique vertical arrangement of the system. If we had a traditional horizontal brewing system in here, maybe we get 1 7-barrel fermenter in here and that's about it. But now with this brew house system, we can actually get 5 7-barrel capacity in here and make a lot of excellent beer.
The beauty of going into business, I guess, is there are challenges that you have to be willing to run into and overcome because they will come. What I'm excited about with the business is the fact that we've got patrons that come in and they're craft beer lovers, they're craft coffee lovers, and they try the products we have and they love it. The feedback that we get from that, that's fulfilling for us.